We've got double Michael B. Jordans, Jim Crow laws, and vampires. Sounds like an interesting recipe, but is it a scrumptious recipe? Or is it more like that one time that I tried my hand at making collard greens? Let's discuss. Sinners has some extra hype surrounding it because it is directed by Ryan Coogler, who we all know, well, maybe we don't all know, but he's the guy who directed the Black Panther movies. He's a director known for empowering black voices with stories that entertain not just black people, but white people as well. And since Hollywood is so predominantly run by white people, I think that people find Ryan Coogler's style to be a breath of fresh air, something different. He has a slightly different vision that certain people in Hollywood just don't have. With Sinners, he's literally bringing us back to a time period in American history that was really quite horrible, and yet some people, I get the impression, miss that time period. Black people were no longer slaves, but Jim Crow laws were being felt, and it was just not a great time to be a black person. It just still was not. But this isn't a movie about that. We're not going through a historical history of the South in, the 1930s. This movie is a vampire flick. It stars Michael B. Jordan, Miles Caton, Jack O'Connell, Delroy Lindo, Jayme Lawson, Omar Miller, Hailee Steinfeld, and Wunmi Mosaku. And as always, I'm putting an asterisk. I might have fucked up some of those names. Sinners tells the story of two twin brothers who return to their hometown with some extra cash in hand with the intention of starting a juke joint. Fresh off a life in Chicago, the brothers have had a taste of northern living but decide the South is where their heart is, and they want to give back to the community that raised them by giving them a place to dance, to drink, and to have a good time. And of course, they wanted to make some moolah because that is the name of the game in this country. One thing you'll notice right away when you start watching this movie is that there is two Michael B. Jordans. He is playing twins, so he's doing double the work. And he does a really stellar job playing these two characters. They are both pretty similar to each other, but at the same time, there are differences. You can tell the difference between Smoke and Stack. I don't know if that's the names that they were born with, but I love those names. It is no small feat anytime you have an actor playing dual characters, especially in the same scene. It takes a lot of skill to have that look really good, and Ryan Coogler and Michael B. Jordan both knock it out of the park when it comes to shooting these scenes so that he is having a conversation with himself and having it seem totally natural. It felt real. I kept looking at some of the different shots trying to make out, because I assumed there had to be a stunt double or just a body double in place for some of these like behind the head shots. That's how they kind of get away with things. I was looking for all that, and I gotta say they did a great job making it so that it's hard to tell how they're doing this. So don't sleep on the extreme effort it takes to put two people of the same person in a video. That's a lot of work, and this movie earned some points just for doing that. One thought I had while watching this film is how much effort had been put into making this world feel authentic to that real time period. It's painstakingly recreated, and it gives us, the audience, a chance to experience something that is not actually that distant, because this really is not that long ago. This was 1930s when this movie takes place. That sounds like a long time, but it really is not. And what's sad is that we still have people that think that if you're black, you're somehow less of a human, and fuck that. And as far as the N-word, you do hear that in this movie because that was appropriate to that time period, and it's an extreme tragedy that it was. And that word, it makes me extremely mad. It's just an awful, awful word, and it makes me even more annoyed that people are trying to keep that word alive. Rappers especially are guilty of this. They put it in their lyrics. They're trying to reclaim the word that was thrown at our ancestors, but I think it's best that it's just a word that disappears. It doesn't sound good when anybody says it, so that's my thoughts on that. I kind of went on a little bit of a rant there, I guess. This movie it's featuring a historical time period that is real and does resonate and does evoke feelings in me. This movie has an excellent supporting cast as well, with Miles Caton, Delroy Lindo, and Wunmi Mosaku being the ones that stood out most to me. But that is by no means me saying that no one else in this movie stood out. There's so many excellent performances in this movie. I'm just singling out those three. Yes, it all felt very historically accurate for the time period. It was so painstakingly redone to feel authentic to that time period. But then came the vampires, which I'm not sure how historically accurate vampires are. I spent months of this movie anticipating the vampire threat. That's what I was really interested in. And by the time they showed up, I started wondering if it was too little too late, because the movie had already dragged itself a little bit getting to that part. Most of this movie is just you watching these two brothers put together this juke joint. They're going around, they're picking out musicians, they're picking out chefs, they're picking out the entertainment, they're picking out the decorations. That's what most of this movie is. And it's extremely entertaining as that as well. It's just that the vampires were supposed to be the selling point, at least they were for me. And I just didn't necessarily fall in love with the part of the movie when they started coming around. Look, we've all seen vampire movies at this point, and at a certain point, there's just nothing you can do to make a vampire story feel fresh and unique. They certainly tried with this movie. They brought us to a really interesting time period that is real and, you know, not too distant. So it gives you that feeling that this could have actually been a real story, the way they made it take place back then. But in the end, it is a vampire story. It is prone to falling into the same cliches. It's just a very tired, overused movie monster that I think has lost the scare factor. For me, I wasn't scared during most of this movie. So this movie didn't really subvert my expectations. It more so met them. It didn't leave me let down per se, but it didn't exceed my, my hopes. I didn't get more than I was expecting. I got exactly what I thought I was gonna get. That being said, there is so much about this movie that I really did like. In fact, I was enjoying the story of the two brothers trying to start up this juke joint. It's cool to see entrepreneurs, especially in this time period when they would have been severely looked down on. Seeing that rags to riches story was entertaining. And if this movie had been marketed at just being that story, I think it would have been an excellent movie and I would have really loved that story. But once we brought the cliche plot device of vampires in the movie, I just started to feel like that part of the movie was the least interesting part of the movie, and it pulled it down for me. But this movie is pure cinema, and this is one of the first times where I saw a movie with the general audience and I didn't totally get annoyed, because I liked feeling that enthusiasm that the audience had during this movie. There's some moments in this movie that people are cheering, and that is actually pretty exciting, because the stuff you're seeing, the stuff that they're cheering about, is something that we can all connect with. Because even if you're not a black person, there's a good chance that you in your life have experienced some form of prejudice. It happens to almost everybody. And boy, is it satisfying to see somebody who's treated you with prejudice get their due. And so watching the audience react to some of that stuff in this movie really did add another layer, and it was one of my best theater experiences. So with all that being said, for me, this movie is an 8 out of 10. I liked a lot about it. I just didn't love the vampire part. I think it took a little bit too long to get to the vampire part, and then when the vampire part did come, it just became a run-of-the-mill vampire movie with nothing too fresh or exciting to make me think, oh my god, this is transcending vampire movie cinema. It just didn't do that. It met my expectations. It did not subvert them. 8 out of 10 is still a really solid score, and that definitely indicates that this is a movie worth seeing in cinemas. So if you choose to see this movie in cinemas, I think you're going to have a great time with this movie. That's my thoughts on this movie. Did you see this movie yet? Please put your thoughts on it in the comments if you did, and if you liked this video, go ahead and hit the like button, and if you want to hear more things from me, subscribe to this channel. Later.